Well, one of the questions I get asked quite a bit is, how do I know how many to keep? How many of each thing? How do I know if I go too far, get rid of too much? Or actually, I think the worst part would be to keep too much, right? To know you could go further safely, but we just don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. So today, let's talk about this idea of count or container. When I'm decluttering a certain category of stuff, should I go by count or should I go by container? It makes it a whole lot easier, takes out the guesswork, takes out some of the emotion as well. So let's talk about that today. Adeline just finished some really good looking banana bread. I wish you could smell how good it smells in our kitchen right now. You've become kind of an expert at banana bread, haven't you? Yeah. I really wish you could smell the kitchen, but there's a whole nother loaf. If you want to come over for banana bread later, just let me know. All right, so let's talk about this idea of how do we know how much stuff to keep and how we can use this idea of count or container to decide. So here's what I'm talking about. In some things in our kitchen, like pots and pans, I've said I kept 3 because we have 3 burners that work. But when it comes to other things like dish towels, I honestly don't care. Like, I've never done the math or the science to be like, well, we use 1.5 dish towels per day and it takes 2 days to get through the laundry, so therefore we need, you know, whatever. Like, I don't care about that, right? So then I just say, they have to fit in this drawer. And the container method was coined by Dana from A Slob Comes Clean. And I mean, she really used that to like declutter her whole house. So I'm a huge proponent of the container method. I have another video called Make the Boundaries the Bad Guy that goes along with this. So I'll link to that down below. But this idea that for some stuff in our house, we want to count it and go by count. And for other things, we just want to set a container and go by what comfortably fits in there. So what I want to do today is just take you around some different spaces in our home and show you where I used count and where I used container and how much of each of those things that we kept. So as long as we're in the kitchen, we might as well get started here. So like I said, when it comes to dish towels, I don't care. I do not care how many dish towels we have. So I have assigned them to this drawer here. Dish towels and dish cloths just need to fit in here. If I ever have to do that thing where I have to like hold it down while I'm pushing in, then I know that we have too many and I'll go through and I'll pull out a towel to be used as a rag, or I will just get rid of it, right? And so another area where I've done that is with the pot holders in this drawer here next to the stove. I just keep however many comfortably fit in there. Again, I don't actually care how many pot holders we have, right? Like, I don't want to think of like on a normal week we use this many, but Thanksgiving week we need many more. You know, it's just like what fits in the drawer is what we keep. And that has been working great for a very long time. One other example of that in here is we keep our plastic bags in this drawer. I don't know, is that weird that we keep our plastic bags in a drawer? I don't know, but it works well, and we just keep what comfortably fits in there. If we start to get too many, then we bring them to the store to be recycled. So for these types of items, I have just set a container and we keep what comfortably fits in there. Again, I don't want to struggle with the drawer, right? Like, we need to be reasonable with how much we keep in there, but I use those containers as the limit. Now, on the other hand, like I said with our pots and pans, I could fit more pots and pans in our kitchen, but I don't want to because I don't want to ever have a big stack of dishes next to the sink. So when it comes to pots and pans and also our dishes that we use on a regular basis, like cups, bowls, plates, and that kind of stuff, that I go by count. So I have 3 pots and pans because we have 3 burners that work. For our plates and dishes, each member of our family has 2 cups and then 1 bowl and 1 small plate and 1 big plate. Again, this is just what works for us. You can do your own count, or you could just decide to use a container for this. It depends how you look at it. For me, again, I look at it as I need dishes to be self-limiting. I don't want them to get piled up by the sink because then I don't do the dishes because I get overwhelmed. Right now, how we have it, by having so few dishes, they can all get used, they can all get dirty, they can all be stacked up next to the sink, and it's not that many. We run the dishwasher once and we're back to the beginning again, right? And so that's why I used count for those things, but the things that it just doesn't matter, like I'm just like throw it in a drawer and be done with it, right? Because I don't care so much. So basically then, as you look around our whole kitchen, that's how I went about decluttering it. Did I want to go by count or container? Is it something that just the number does not matter? Okay, let's simplify it down to what comfortably fits in here. Or is it something where I have an intention behind the number? Then let's go by a number. But both of those work very well to help take the emotion out of it, right? I can't feel bad about decluttering dish towels because they just don't all fit, right? So I'm putting in my favorites, and then usually the ones that are left I'm not as attached to, so then it's not too hard to move those out of the kitchen. All right, why don't we head into the bathroom and I'll give you a couple examples in there. Okay, so now when it comes to this bathroom, this is our full bathroom. I'll show you some things in our other bathroom too, but this is actually our only like linen closet in our entire house. So this storage space is actually fairly valuable. So when it comes to towels, I go by count. So we have one bath towel per person and roughly about one washcloth too. So that I go by count because we just don't have a lot of space here. But then when it comes to things like cold medicine, I go by container. So I know now that if this container starts to get over full, it usually means there's like some empty bottles in here or expired. So I go with what comfortably fits in here. And like I said, I know if it starts to overflow, we have too many. So I don't want to like keep inventory of how many cough syrups we have and you know what kind and what type, and like I don't want to inventory that. Like I don't care that much. So this I go by container, but bath towels I go by count. On the other hand, many of you actually have really large linen cabinets, and so you could probably keep a ton of towels. So if we went by what fit in the container, you would probably have way too many. But if we go by count, like 1 per adult or 2 per adult or 1 per adult plus 2 guest bath towels, you know, whatever works best for you, then we're gonna be able to pare down further than what fits in the container. Likewise, we only have one set of sheets per bed. We don't really have a lot of space to store it. I do like the tip that if you have extra sets per bed that you store them in the bedroom with it. So you don't even have to use your linen closet for that. But for us, we've just decided one set works great. I don't even have to think about anywhere else to store those sheets. So that's another example where I went by count, not by what fits in the container. But you pick out what works best for you, right? This has been working well for us for like, I don't know, 7 years now. So I feel very confident about that decision, but you get to decide how many of each thing that you keep. So let's talk about some kid stuff. When our kids were little, for their toys, we went by container. So we had our toy bins, they're from IKEA. They don't have them in black anymore. We get asked that a lot. But it was just what comfortably fits in those bins. And then now they've kind of been growing out of toys, which is sad. We still have Legos, of course. So, but now as they're getting older, we're playing more games with them. And so what we've decided is that when it comes to board games, I go by count. So you'll always find 3 games or like boxed games here, and they'll rotate out. We have a few more in our closet upstairs, but then this basket has all of our card games, and that I don't limit. They just have to fit in there. And it's kind of nice too, because then if like a random card or piece is floating around the house, we just throw it back in there, and so eventually it gets back into the set, even if not immediately. So it's kind of nice that we just have a home for those too. So as long as they fit in the basket, then they're good. If the basket starts overflowing, then I'll go through it and I'll know by then that there's a game or 2 in there that we're not playing anymore, and then we'll pass those on. But here's another instance where we use count and container. Okay, so now we're in our other bathroom, and this is where I keep all my stuff. And still one of the hardest things for me to get rid of is beauty products and hair products that I spent money on. It's just because usually they're expensive, right? And so it's really hard to get rid of them. So I want to show you how I use count and container in here. So when it comes to my makeup bag, like my everyday makeup, I go by count. I only want to have one of each thing that I use in here, no more, no less. Like I want to just have the stuff I use every day to get ready. Now I'll show you where I use container. Okay, so in this drawer, this is where I put my makeup bag when I'm not using it. And then behind it, I've designated my container or my space for random beauty products that I'm not sure. This is where I put the foundations that Diana gets me that she really wants me to use, but I just still don't like liquid foundation, right? So I'll put that in there. She just got me this like CC cream. It was a little bit too light. I need to just give it back to her. But I'm like, well, but maybe in the winter it would work, right? In the summer it's too light, but winter it might be fine. This one's a BB cream, right? So I allow myself kind of like this I don't know. In a way, it's probably kind of like quarantining it because eventually most of the stuff ends up going. But it has to fit in here. So any extra beauty products, skin products, makeup products, this is where I put them, and I'm just like, I'm okay with that, right? Like, that's my container where they go. It can't be overflowing. I still need to fit my makeup bag in here, but I just allow myself that space, and it kind of has worked. I mean, sometimes I'll go back and use some of the products in there. Otherwise, it kind of works as a good, like, detaching space, and then eventually I'll go on and donate them or get rid of them. So I am all about, like, donating stuff before it goes bad so someone else can use it, but it's still like, if you've spent money on it, it's still hard, right? And then down here, I've showed you recently, again, I go by container. So what fits in these containers easily, comfortably, I will keep. And I had shown you a while back where I created this bin for my hair products. So the outer bin was from Target, and then I just put a cutting board from the dollar store in the middle with packing tape. But this has worked really well because everything stands up in there. I wrap the cord around, put it in, and that has worked really well. So this is my container for like styling tools, and then the other two containers for products, and that has worked great. If something doesn't fit, then I find something else that I want to get rid of and take out. But again, like, you can look at it two ways. You can be like, oh, that's so limiting, right? Or what I've come to realize, but especially because I've been doing this a while, is that if I have more products than what fit in these two bins, I'm not using them. There's stuff that's gone bad, there's stuff I don't like that I'm just keeping because I spent money on it. And so I would never possibly in my life use more than what fits in here. So by just respecting those boundaries or those limits, it really does cause me to only keep stuff that I'm using. So the limits in the containers aren't bad, right? It helps to make some of these tough decisions for us. And of course, this is also helpful when it comes to random things we like to keep, but we know we don't need as many, but yet it's hard, like maybe like boxes or jars or padded envelopes. You're like, I could use this again, right? It's useful. So instead of trying to like count how many we would keep, let's just set a container. So we set one space where we keep these in a closet or a cabinet. That's our container, and we just keep what fits in there. So we just keep the nicest boxes, right? And the nicest padded envelopes. And if I get a new one, I go to there and I take out a different one, or you know what I mean. You switch them in and out as you'd like, but that's the container, that's the limit, and that determines how many I keep. Just so you know, this happens in my house. Like, I just made a 10-minute lap around the house, and like, there's food containers out that didn't get put away, and anyways, okay. It's just constant, right? Having to put stuff away. All right, so I hope this helps though, that as you're decluttering and simplifying your house, to be able to ask yourself, okay, when I'm trying to decide how many to keep, should I go by count or should I go by container? And deciding what's the best fit for you and that item and how you use it, count or container. Either way, it's just helping to create a boundary so that it takes some of the emotion out of this, some of the guesswork out of it, and it just gives us some kind of guideline for decluttering. So I hope that helps. I would love to know, have there been any areas in your house where you've used this, where you've gone by count or container? If you would share some of those examples down below, it's really helpful to others too. And then, like I said, I do have that other video, Make the Boundaries the Bad Guy, where I go through more examples of it as well. So if you're looking for some more ideas, you can check that out too. But thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, I hope you subscribe so we can spend more time together. But I love you, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.